Have you ever experienced the uncanny moment of confronting a long held belief only to feel your entire inner world shift, not collapse? It is a rare psychological event, the sensation of internal expansion rather than defensive retraction. We are constantly negotiating between the part of ourselves that craves the safety of the familiar and the part that dares to explore the unknown. Today, we will conduct a forensic examination of the latter, the mind defined by its quiet, almost radical capacity for openness, and how this profound trait underpins the highest forms of wisdom and resilience.
Our exploration focuses on the advanced psychology of true open-mindedness. We are not speaking of mere tolerance, but of a core cognitive architecture that dictates one's relationship with reality, conflict, and personal evolution. This concept is vital because in an era defined by overwhelming complexity and accelerating change, the rigid mind becomes brittle, whereas the flexible mind adapts and thrives. This narration will dissect the neuroscientific underpinnings of this trait, trace its developmental origins, reveal the hidden burdens it imposes, and offer a path to mastering this difficult yet essential form of psychological freedom. By the end, you will possess a comprehensive framework for understanding and cultivating the most powerful instrument available to you, a mind willing to be changed by truth. 1. The science of cognitive flexibility. The signature characteristic of the open mind is cognitive flexibility, the executive function that allows the brain to pivot, update its schemas, and integrate new, often contradictory information without triggering a threat response. In neurological terms, this is a sophisticated dance between the brain's older and newer systems. When conventional certainty is challenged, the brain's primitive alarm system, the amygdala, typically registers this discrepancy as a physical danger, leading to defensiveness, which is psychologically equivalent to fighting for survival. However, in the highly open-minded individual, the more recently evolved prefrontal cortex, the seat of complex reasoning, emotional regulation, and perspective-taking, intervenes. It acts as a gentle narrator, stepping in to say, "Wait, let's evaluate this from another angle." This difference in response is fundamental. Where others react reflexively, the open mind chooses observation over reflex. They do not interpret disagreement as rejection. They interpret it as data. This allows them to manifest integrative complexity, the rare skill of genuinely holding multiple, contradictory perspectives in tension. This capacity elevates the open-minded beyond simple problem-solving to meta-problem-solving, enabling them to navigate emotionally charged moments without succumbing to simple, binary conclusions. They see humanity where others see only enemies, and they find nuance where others demand simplicity. 2. The developmental crucible. This mental architecture is not an accident of personality. It is often forged in a developmental crucible. Open-mindedness frequently traces its origins to periods of early life complexity, where the individual was forced to negotiate divergent truths. Consider the child who grows up between two differing emotional worlds, perhaps a home with conflicting cultural expectations, or navigating parents who offer radically different narratives of the same event. That child learns early that truth is not singular, and that rigid adherence to one view is often a path to blindness. Instead of simply choosing a side, they learn to inhabit the space between those perspectives. This necessity, whether born from emotional survival or sheer intellectual curiosity, becomes the foundation for their adult cognitive strength. They are not merely asking what and how, but the deepest form of why, demanding explanations that go beyond the surface
and questioning the fragile narratives that hold families and communities together. Have you reflected on the early moments in your own life that taught you to either resist or welcome contradiction? These foundational experiences are the silent architects of your current mental framework. The philosophical and societal burden. The wisdom of an open mind comes at a profound cost that is rarely acknowledged. Philosophers and psychologists refer to this as the burden of consciousness. When one can hold more than one truth at a time, one holds more than one burden, leading to two significant challenges: loneliness and exhaustion. 1. The loneliness of the non-aligned. In a world addicted to tribalism, the open mind refuses to compress itself into a single box. The moment you question your own side, you risk becoming an outsider, perceived as a threat or an indecisive anomaly. This leads to profound loneliness, not the loneliness of being physically alone, but the isolation that comes from living in the mental space between worlds. You understand people who fiercely disagree with one another, but you rarely get to stand fully with anyone, becoming the perpetual mediator or translator. 2. Emotional contagion and fatigue. The open mind, by its very nature, is a wide open window. This openness makes one vulnerable to emotional contagion, a phenomenon where the nervous system unconsciously mirrors the suffering of others. The open-minded absorb emotional tension like a sponge in a storm, leading to severe decision fatigue and silent exhaustion. They overthink not out of insecurity, but out of an awareness so sharp it cuts into the quiet moments of their life, hearing every unspoken tone and seeing every hidden motive. This generosity of spirit, when unchecked, often results in the quiet erosion of personal boundaries. Mastery and anchor. Healing for the open mind is not about closing off, it is about stabilizing it. To ensure your openness remains a form of strength rather than a vulnerability, two practical principles must be mastered. First, implement cognitive boundary setting. You must deliberately establish a firewall for your mental space. This involves recognizing that while you can and must hold empathy for another person's pain, their wounds are not your responsibility to carry or fix. Practice the art of pausing, grounding yourself physically, and affirming the separation. Their feelings are not my feelings. Their burdens do not belong to me. This is self-respect made manifest. Second, cultivate the anchor of identity. Openness requires a strong, well-defined sense of self. Identity is not the opposite of flexibility. It is the anchor that allows flexibility without total dissolution. You must know your own core values, the principles you adhere to, even as you listen with genuine curiosity to arguments that contradict them. Think of your mind as a beautiful garden. If everything is allowed to grow, nothing truly thrives. You must choose what to nurture: curiosity, compassion, and truth, and what to prune: excessive absorption, self-doubt, and the obligation to align. We conclude where we began, with the question of growth versus contraction when confronted by life's inevitable challenges. The open mind is not simply a personality trait. It is a life philosophy. It is the quiet willingness to let truth arrive in its own time and shape, without forcing it into the narrow boxes of our past convictions. It is the soft, enduring defiance of saying, I am willing to see what is true, even if it changes me entirely. The mind that masters this openness becomes a landscape of depth, where empathy lives beside logic and nuance breathes beside clarity. Now that you understand the complex architecture and the necessary anchor required for this kind of consciousness, Imagine how you could transform your entire experience of the world by protecting and empowering your own capacity to expand.